My friend said I was out of his league, so I left, but now he won't take me back. I dumped my boyfriend thinking I was out of his league, and after I regretted it, he turned me down. It all started with my friends, as most things do. We were sitting around my kitchen table one night, half a bottle of wine down each, and the conversation turned to men as it always does. They asked me how things were going with him, and I hesitated. It wasn't that things were bad exactly, but they weren't great either. We'd been together for over 2 years at that point, and we had our routines. Comfortable, but maybe too comfortable, if you know what I mean. "He's nice and all," I said, shrugging, "but sometimes it feels like we're more like roommates than anything else. You know that moment when everyone looks at each other and you realize they've all been talking about you behind your back? Yeah, that was this." "Girl," one of my friends said, letting out a deep sigh, "you could do so much better. He's not even in your league." Now, I'm not usually one to buy into the whole out of his league nonsense, but they started piling on, reminding me about how I have a good job, how I'm doing well for myself, how I could be with someone who made me feel appreciated every single day. The way they framed it, staying with him started sounding like I was selling myself short. "I mean, seriously," my other friend jumped in. "You went through all of that drama with your ex and still came out of it stronger. You are smart, beautiful, and funny. Then there's him. He's just there." To be fair, they weren't wrong. My ex-boyfriend, for all intents and purposes, was a disaster. We were together for years and actually engaged. He decided he wasn't ready to get married because he was still figuring out who he was. He wasn't ready, I wasn't ready, and it showed. So, when things fell apart between us, it wasn't exactly a surprise. I guess he sort of held me back in a way. After I left university, I started neglecting my career since my ex used to pay for absolutely everything, and I didn't really have to work. After we broke up, I went back to school, got a master's, and eventually landed a good job. Then 2 years ago, I met him, my boyfriend. We met at a mutual friends party, one of those random things where you go expecting to leave early but end up staying because somehow you actually have a good time. He was there with a group of his friends, and we got talking. At first, I didn't think much of it. He seemed nice enough, but I wasn't in the mindset to get into anything serious. But one thing led to another, and before I knew it, we were spending more and more time together. He wasn't flashy or particularly ambitious, but he was steady, reliable. I felt like I could trust him. In the beginning, things were great. He was sweet, thoughtful, and he never made me feel bad about myself. We moved in together after a year of dating, and it just felt comfortable, maybe too comfortable now that I look back on it. The thing is, as time went on, that spark I felt in the beginning started to fade. He was still a good guy, he didn't do anything wrong, but something felt off, like I was settling, and my friends, as much as they might have had their own lives to worry about, were always quick to remind me of it. "You don't have to stay with someone just because they're nice," one of them said, swirling the last bit of wine in her glass. "You deserve someone who lights a fire under you." That's how the seed was planted. They convinced me that I was better off without him, that I needed to find someone who matched my energy, my drive. They made it sound like staying with him was holding me back, so I did what they suggested. I left. It wasn't dramatic or anything. I sat him down one night and told him how I felt. I said I thought we had grown apart, that we wanted different things, that I wasn't happy. He didn't fight me on it, which only made me feel like I was doing the right thing. If he'd put up more of a fight, maybe I would have reconsidered. But instead, he just nodded, like he knew this was coming, and that was it. For the first few months, I felt good about my decision. I went out more, started paying more attention to myself. I threw myself into work, my friendships, and being the best version of me. My friends kept telling me how proud they were that I finally put myself first, but now, months later, things feel different. I guess I thought leaving would make me feel more free, like I could finally go out and find someone who checked all the boxes. But the more time passes, the more I realize that maybe he wasn't the problem. Maybe I was expecting too much. Or maybe, just maybe, I was listening to everyone else's opinions instead of my own. I reached out to him recently, thinking maybe we could patch things up. It wasn't like I expected to get back together right away or anything, but I thought we could at least talk. But when I called, he didn't seem interested. He was polite, sure, but distant, like he'd already moved on while I was still stuck in the same place. And I was left wondering, did I make a huge mistake? After that phone call, everything started to feel a little too real. I had walked away thinking that I was in control, that I was making some big decision for my future. But now, all of a sudden, the control I thought I had was gone. He wasn't chasing after me. He wasn't calling to check in, to see if I was okay. He wasn't doing anything, and that messed with my head more than I expected. For the first few weeks after we broke up, I didn't even think about it. I mean, why would I? I was the one who left, right? I had made the choice and I felt confident about it. But slowly, the confidence started to fade. Every time I scrolled through social media or hung out with friends, there'd be little moments that reminded me of him. Things we used to do together, places we used to go, even songs we'd listened to on repeat. It's crazy how much you start noticing those things when you're not trying to. But what hit me the hardest wasn't the memories or the reminders. It was the silence. You'd think that when you leave someone, there's this big dramatic fallout, this war for power or attention. But in my case, there was none of that. He just let me go. No questions, no drama, nothing. And as time went on, I started questioning if that meant I didn't matter as much to him as I thought. Or maybe he was better off without me, which wasn't a thought I was prepared to deal with. I tried talking to my friends about it, of course. The same friends who had told me to leave him in the first place. At first, they were all, "You're so much better off. Just wait until you meet someone new." But when I kept bringing him up, kept asking if maybe I'd made a mistake, their responses started to shift. "You know, sometimes you just miss the routine," one friend said, trying to be supportive. "It's not really him you miss. It's the comfort of being in a relationship." That sounded logical, and I tried to believe it. But deep down, I knew it wasn't just about the routine. It was about him. I missed his stupid laugh, the way he would crack jokes when I was stressed, the way he never made me feel like I was asking too much, even when I was. The guy wasn't perfect, but he was solid. And now it felt like I was realizing all of that way too late. In the midst of all this, I did what any sane person would do when they're feeling lost. I jumped into the dating pool. My friends hyped me up, saying that the best way to get over someone is to meet new people, have some fun, and explore. So I downloaded a couple of dating apps and tried to throw myself back out there. Let me tell you, dating after being in a long-term relationship is a special kind of nightmare. Suddenly, I was swiping through profiles of guys who couldn't string together a proper sentence, let alone hold a conversation. The few dates I went on were awkward at best and downright embarrassing at worst. One guy spent the entire time talking about his crypto investments. Another one ghosted me halfway through the first drink. I wasn't looking for anything serious, but I wasn't prepared for how soul-sucking the whole process would feel. Every bad date just reminded me of what I had given up. I found myself comparing them to him, how he used to listen to me, how he'd actually make an effort. It's like the more I dated, the more I realized how rare that kind of connection actually was. Then came the regret, the terrible feeling that I had messed up something good because I let other people's opinions cloud my judgment. I kept replaying that conversation with my friends over and over in my head. What if I had never let them get in my head like that? What if I had focused on the good things in our relationship instead of nitpicking the things that weren't perfect? And the more I thought about it, the more I started to get angry at myself, at my friends, and at the whole situation. I had listened to everyone except the one person who actually mattered in all of this, me. I had let other people's opinions make me doubt something that had been working just fine. Sure, maybe we weren't setting the world on fire with passion, but we were happy, or at least I thought we were. That's when I started considering whether or not I should reach out to him again. But the more I thought about it, the more anxious I became. What if he'd moved on? What if he wasn't interested in hearing from me at all? After all, I was the one who left. I was the one who decided that he wasn't enough. And the last thing I wanted was to come off as desperate, or like I was only reaching out because I was lonely. Still, the idea kept nagging at me. I'd look at my phone a dozen times a day, debating whether or not to text him, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I was too scared of what his response might be, or worse, that there wouldn't be a response at all. So I tried to focus on other things. I threw myself into work and did my best to move forward. But no matter what I did, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had walked away from something that mattered, something that I might never get back. One night, after yet another awkward date that ended with me politely excusing myself to get some air, I found myself standing outside my apartment building, phone in hand, staring at his name in my contacts. I hadn't spoken to him since that one polite, distant phone call, but something inside me snapped. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't keep pretending that I was fine, that I didn't care, that this was all just a bump in the road. I typed out a text. It was short, simple. Just a, "Hey, how've you been?" Nothing dramatic, nothing desperate, just an olive branch. But then, just as I was about to hit send, my phone buzzed. It wasn't him. It was one of my friends. I stared at the message from my friend for a while, my thumb hovering over the send button on the text I had written to him. It felt like some kind of twisted metaphor, like the universe was throwing one last obstacle in my way, asking if I was really sure about what I was doing. The message from my friend wasn't anything big, just a random meme and a "how are you?" But it was enough to pull me out of the moment, enough to make me pause and rethink everything. I put my phone down on the kitchen counter and walked away, needing some space to breathe and clear my head. I'd spent so much time wrapped up in my feelings of regret and uncertainty, replaying every moment of our relationship and breakup like it was some kind of unsolvable puzzle. But what was I really doing here? I thought back to why I left in the first place. The doubts, the nagging feeling that something was missing. It hadn't all been in my head. There were real reasons I walked away, reasons that had nothing to do with what my friend said, and everything to do with me feeling like I wasn't being fulfilled. The problem was, I didn't know if those reasons were still valid, or if I was just looking at everything through the distorted lens of loneliness and nostalgia. That night, I laid in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about him and the life I had walked away from. Was I missing him, or was I just missing the idea of him, the comfort, the familiarity? Did I actually want to try again, or was I just scared of the unknown? As the hours dragged on, I realized that I had been putting off the one thing I needed to do, face the truth, whatever that was. I couldn't keep living in this limbo, caught between what was and what could have been. I needed to decide, once and for all, whether I was going to move forward with my life, or whether I was going to try and fix what I had broken. The next morning, I picked up my phone and reread the text I had written to him. It seemed small and silly now, just a vague. We hadn't gone through something major together. I deleted it. Do it right. So I called him. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. I almost hung up. But just as I was about to, he answered. "Hello?" His voice sounded the same as it always had, and for a second I was thrown back to all the times we had talked late into the night, when everything between us had been easy and uncomplicated. But I wasn't calling for nostalgia. "Hey," I said, my voice catching a little. "It's me." There was a pause on the other end. "Hey," he said after what felt like an eternity. "How are you?" I'm okay," I said. "I've been thinking about you, about us, and I wanted to talk." Another pause, longer this time. I could practically hear the gears turning in his head, trying to figure out what this was about. "I've been thinking too," he finally said, his voice careful. "But I don't know if talking is going to change anything." The pit in my stomach grew. I hadn't been expecting him to jump at the chance to get back together, but hearing the hesitation in his voice, hearing that distance hurt more than I thought it would. "I know I left," I said, rushing to get the words out before I lost my nerve. "I know I said things weren't working, but I've been thinking a lot about everything, and I miss you." There it was, the truth laid bare. I had missed him, missed us. And now, standing at the edge of this moment, I was trying to figure out if there was any way to fix it. But he didn't respond right away, and when he did, his voice was quiet. "I miss you too," he said. "But I don't know if that's enough anymore." My heart sank. I hadn't expected this to be easy, but hearing him say that still felt like a punch to the gut. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "I mean, you left," he said, his words coming out slowly, like he was choosing them carefully. "And I get why. I wasn't everything you needed, I know that, but I've had time to think too, and I don't know if going back would be the right thing for either of us." I sat down, the weight of his words hitting me hard. I had been so focused on my own feelings, my own regret and second-guessing, that I hadn't even considered what this had done to him. I had walked away, left him to pick up the pieces of whatever we had, and now I was asking if he could just put them back together. "I thought maybe we could try again," I said, my voice small. "I know I messed up, but—" "I'm not saying it's impossible," he cut in. "But I'm different now. This time apart, it made me realize things too. About myself, about what I want, and I don't know if I want to go back to what we had." Silence hung in the air between us, heavy and uncomfortable. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to fight for him, to beg him to give us another shot. But another part of me, the part that had been questioning everything, wondered if maybe he was right. Maybe we weren't supposed to go back. "I don't want to hurt you," he said, breaking the silence. "But I think we both need to be honest with ourselves. Maybe we're not the same people we were when we started all this." I felt tears welling up in my eyes, but I blinked them away. He was right, and I hated myself for that. Update. Hey everyone. I figured I'd give an update since a lot has happened since I last posted. After that phone call with him, I was pretty torn up for a while. His words stuck with me. Maybe we're not the same people we were when we started all this. At first, it felt like he was closing the door on everything, and I didn't know how to process that. I had spent so long regretting my decision to leave, and to hear him say that he wasn't sure if going back was even an option, it messed me up. But over the next few weeks, I started to realize that he was right. I had changed. He had changed, and it wasn't fair to either of us to try and force things back to how they used to be, just because I was feeling lonely or nostalgic. I needed to figure out who I was outside of our relationship, and whether or not I was really ready to be with him, or anyone for that matter, again. I still considered breaking up with him a mistake because we could have worked it out together and not just accept we were different. I made the wrong decision, but came to terms with it. It was time to get over and accept that we wouldn't go back together. So I took a step back. I stopped reaching out to him, stopped trying to fix things that maybe weren't meant to be fixed. It wasn't easy, though. There were days when all I wanted to do was text him or call him, just to hear his voice or feel like we were still connected in some way. But every time I resisted the urge, I felt a little bit stronger, a little bit more like myself. During this time, I focused on my job. I started spending more time doing things for me, things I had neglected while I was caught up in the relationship, and all the fallout from the breakup. I took up running again, which used to be my go-to for clearing my head before life got busy. I signed up for a yoga class. I know, so cliche, but it really did help. And most importantly, I started going to therapy. Therapy has been a game changer for me. I hadn't realized how much I had been carrying old baggage from my relationship with my first ex, from my breakup with my boyfriend, and even from my childhood. Unpacking all of that has been hard, but it's also been freeing. It made me realize that a lot of my feelings of regret weren't just about losing him. They were about losing the version of myself that I had been when we were together. I had been holding on to this idea of what my life should look like instead of accepting what it actually was. A few months passed, and in that time, I started to feel more at peace with everything. I wasn't obsessing over him anymore. I wasn't beating myself up over my choices. I was just living my life, and honestly, it felt good. Then out of the blue, he reached out to me. It wasn't anything dramatic, just a simple text asking how I was doing, but it caught me off guard. I hadn't expected to hear from him again, and part of me wasn't sure how to respond. After all the work I had been doing on myself, was I ready to let him back in? Was this a step backward, or was it an opportunity to reconnect, maybe on different terms? I sat on the text for a while, unsure of what to say, but eventually I responded. We exchanged a few messages, catching up on what we'd been up to. It was nice, but it also felt different. There was no urgency, no expectation of anything more. It was just two people who had shared something important, checking in on each other. A couple of days later, he asked if I wanted to grab coffee. I was hesitant at first. I didn't want to undo all the progress I had made by rushing back into something that wasn't right for me. But at the same time, I felt like I owed it to myself to see where things stood between us. So I agreed. We met up at a little cafe not far from where we used to live together. Walking in, I was nervous, unsure of what to expect. But when I saw him sitting there sipping his coffee, something shifted. He looked the same, but also different, calmer, more grounded, like he had done some growing of his own during our time apart. The conversation was easy, comfortable even. We talked about work, life, our friends. We laughed about some of the stupid things we used to do when we were together. But we didn't talk about us, not right away at least. It was like we were both feeling things out, trying to see if there was anything left between us. Eventually, though, the topic came up. He asked me how I was really doing and if I was happy. And for the first time in a long time, I could honestly say that I was. I told him about the work I'd been doing on myself, how I'd come to terms with a lot of the things that had been weighing me down. He listened, really listened, and it felt good to be heard. Then he shared his side. He told me how hard the breakup had been for him at first, how he had questioned everything, wondering if he had done something wrong, or if he could have fought harder to keep me. But over time, he realized that he needed the space too, that he had been in a rut, just coasting along, not really thinking about what he wanted or where he was going. The breakup had forced him to look at his life in a way he hadn't before. By the end of the conversation, we both agreed on one thing. We weren't the same people we were when we were together, and that was okay. In fact, it was probably a good thing. He told me he had a new girlfriend. Listening to that hurted me a lot, but it was a natural process I had to accept. I wanted to cry when he said it, but I kept my cool as much as I could. So, where does that leave us now? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if we can be friends, because I know I still have feelings for him. It's hard seeing someone you love so much moving on with their life without you. I guess I have to do the same. I've learned that I need to prioritize myself and my own happiness before I can be with anyone else. And I think he's on the same page. Maybe we'll find our way back to each other, or maybe we won't. Either way, I'm okay with it. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm in control of my own story, and that's something I wouldn't trade for anything.